Hello everyone and welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Josh, joined as ever by Scott Tailford for some delicious Elden Ring news. As you might know, the latest game from Software has been announced at last year's E3 2019 Expo. We haven't really heard too much about it since, but there are a slew of new rumours that suggest it might be coming as early as June 2020.
Than rumours, my friend. I'll give you full-on one leak from last year.
Give me facts.
And the newest fact, which is that it's going to be at the Taipei Game Show in 2020, which is on February 6th to February 9th, and they're going to be showing it off. Now, apparently it won't be playable on the show floor, but it is the next phase of the rollout of the game.
Definitely.
That's not the main thing, though. That only goes to confirm that the game is coming this year, because Gamatsu reported in May last year that they already knew like the whole bunch of gameplay details, which we'll get to, but that also went alongside a target listing for June 30th, which looked a bit like a placeholder day. But in terms of the turnaround from Software's games, they tend to aim for a sort of 3-year development cycle, and all of this stuff combines to show that it's been in development since 2017, pointing to summer 2020.
What we've done. We've done some absolutely quick maths going into this news video, and we've tried to figure out whether this is realistic, because when I first saw it, even last year, I thought, that seems awfully soon considering we've only had one trailer and we haven't had a look at gameplay, we haven't had any breakdowns like that. They haven't even really been vocal about it, yet judging, like you said, from Software's previous history, about a 3-year to 4-year development cycle does make sense, because that was the first rumour when the leaks were first announced, wasn't it? That it's already been in development for 3 years at that point, which will make it 4 by the time it comes out. And that lines up with Bloodborne, which had 3 years development. That lines up with Sekiro, which had 3.5. It lines up with Dark Souls 3, which had more or less spot on 3. And the most important trend, I think, with all those games is that Dark Souls 3 was announced at E3 2015, and then it released March 2016, so that's less than a year turnaround on release. Plus, on announcement to release.
I know that they reuse a lot of their game engines. I think they have pretty much used the same game engine, even though obviously Sekiro plays completely differently to Dark Souls and Bloodborne. Still, I think that, I'm assuming that Elden Ring will have a lot more in common with Dark Souls. It very much seems, looking at the original trailer, that it's an open world Dark Souls.
Right.
Which I'll get into the gameplay stuff, but it seems like they're very much channeling Dark Souls style stuff. Even the logo is very Soulsian.
Yeah, I suppose
voice guy reminds me a lot of Soulsian stuff.
It's kind of strange because, I mean, all of their games, even Sekiro, which is probably their biggest departure since they got popular with Demon Souls, I think they've all followed that mold to an extent, even when you do think they're going to break from it. So with each new game, I thought Sekiro was going to be radically different, and I'm pleased it wasn't. And I've had the opinion of Elden Ring that, I mean, it is different, yes, but it's still, when you pick it up, you know it's made by From Software, I think. Even though it is different, it does things unique, and it gives you a jump button, which is very welcome. But when it comes to Elden Ring, I wondered whether that was going to be another major departure, or whether it's going to have, you know, those same themes that have been woven into all of their games, just on a grander scale, because they did mention that this is the biggest project they've ever worked on, and even from the time frame, you can get a handle on that. I have no idea, Scott Tailford, how they keep pumping these games out at a record rate, and they're all so good.
I know, I think, well, the thing, obviously it's because they do reuse the same engine in a way better way than what Bethesda do, but there is a way to reuse an engine and make it work. It reminds me of Rockstar's Hot Streak from the beginning of the 2000s, where it's weird, if you go back to the rollout of the GTA games, they were 1 year apart. San Andreas was then 2 years apart, but still, that like breadth of quality, or that considerable quality in such a considered amount of time, is kind of ridiculous in retrospect. But yeah, in regards to this, if you go back to the Gamatsu stuff, like obviously there's some things to point out. This is the game where G.R.R. Martin, Game of Thrones man, Game R.R. Martin, is teaming up with Hidetaka Miyazaki to apparently provide the lore. He's apparently created a whole original story and lore, and that's the stuff that they're like is going to provide the backbone for the game. FromSoft, it's obviously a collaboration, but FromSoft provide the combat and stuff like that. But it is, I think G.R. Martin's done his part and then moved back on to assumedly finishing the Thrones book.
I mean, whoa, don't get ahead of yourself. That Thrones book is never getting finished, my friend.
I don't even think he started it.
Ben Roy made quite a funny little remark that I kind of hope to be true, because it would be the ultimate troll ever, that the book, the next Game of Thrones book, The Winds of Winter, is in, you know, it's in Elden Ring, but you have to complete Elden Ring to actually read it. That would be, I would do that.
And that's just in the trailers, the lament of Thrones fans. Oh, Elden Ring.
God.
Oh.
No, but his involvement, you know, in the project is fascinating to me, because From Software have always created games that have these killer stories, but they're always so abstract and, difficult to get a hand in. They make you go like that. They make you go,
Well, but in Sekiro, they started being way more, like they had an actual protagonist, a voiced protagonist in cutscenes, and it felt like they're going a little bit more quote-unquote mainstream. So I do wonder if this will be their most mainstream thing yet.
I'm not even sure I agree with that, because on the surface, yes, it has, actual dialogue and a voice protagonist, but at the same time, that thing's story was still so open-ended, and it was still something you had to, dig your teeth into, explore. For me, it was anyway. Maybe I'm just a big dumb idiot.
No. You can definitely interpret some bits and bobs and stuff. But I thought, in terms of an A to B narrative, there's way more that you'll take away from it than you would from Bloodborne or Souls. That's all I'm saying.
Without a doubt, it's trending in that direction. But for me, who was going in, with all the news, again, maybe it was just my own expectations. I was going in with the assumption that it was going to be more kind of player-friendly when it came to story and roll out more than it did. It was still way more of a, obvious narrative than what you got in Dark Souls, but it still kept so many of its cards close to its chest, at least in my opinion.
Well, I think that's like a signature trait of the studio. But the Gematsu leak, obviously it's J.R.R. Martin teaming up with Hidetaka Miyazaki. That's part of the official stuff. The Gematsu thing points to an open world style game design where you're going between different kingdoms, fighting different rulers and acquiring some sort of ability that then guides you back towards the main path, which some fans have then correlated with the logo that's out there, because it looks like a whole bunch of separate rings uniting with a path through the middle, which kind of makes sense. The game's development code name was Great Rune, kind of like a Lord of the Rings style thing. Maybe there's some object of great power that you're supposed to eventually get to or wield or whatever. But I like the idea of them taking the Dark Souls formula and splitting it across an open world. Apparently, there'll be horse gameplay as well. Woo. Do you want some horses to get from A to B to C to D?
I didn't think I needed jumping in my From Software games. I don't think I need horses in there, but now I can't go back. Maybe if I can jump from a horse, that would be cool.
I don't think you'd be able to jump from a horse.
The idea of an open world From Software game, when you have that in the title, it kind of sounds a bit shocking. You're like, oh no, I hope they're not going to make it Assassin's Creed or anything like that. But like the first Dark Souls is kind of an open world game in the way it connects, and if they do something similar, perhaps expand on that and make that a little bit more open. I mean, that's what I think fans would absolutely lap up, that idea of an interconnected world that you are moving from, because it sounds like you are going to get at least some choice in the way that you acquire these powers from these different, big boss battles.
Do you think they'll lose something? Because it's hard. How the hell do you make something as intricate and overlapping and labyrinthine as the first Souls? Without, and then as soon as you go bigger, it's like, well, you can't have an interconnected world anymore. And I kind of wonder how the hell they're going to do that. I like the idea of, you go to different kingdoms and you acquire an ability. Maybe you can make a straight beeline for the final boss if you want to, like Breath of the Wild style. And if you're good enough, you can get through. But because they're not someone who, I assume they're not going to fall back on like a loot-based number grindy system.
I doubt it.
I assume you'd need some sort of ability to deflect properly or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's always been sort of, loot elements in their games and character building, obviously, in the RPG sort of, mechanics. But I can't imagine that's going to turn into you kicking open boxes and, getting these random number generated things.
Look, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot has him gathering crystals to power up. He's never done that.
Not From Software, though.
No, but the way of doing the whole open world grind thing, every dev is like, well, what if there was an X currency just scattered everywhere? What if you collected that to do the thing you want to do? I don't know. I don't think From Software would go down that route, but they have to have some reason for it being open world. They can't just take what is ostensibly, 6 versions of the first Dark Souls map and just pepper it in 6 places in an open world. They have to have something in between, and I don't think they'd go down the side mission route. So I don't know what the hell you would do in between.
I actually kind of hoping they do just do that, and have sort of 6 or whatever, 6 big open areas that you ride between, and you might see something in there, but it would still feel kind of cohesive and part of one big world, but each sort of area is treated like a mini Dark Souls level.
Possible. Let's talk about, do you think the world is ready for another FromSoft game 1 year later?
It's funny you should ask.
I know Souls 3 straight up 1 year after Bloodborne.
Yes. But, well, I was actually thinking the other day when I was having some downtime over Christmas, and I was thinking, when is the next From Software game coming out? Because I completely forgot that Elden Ring was even announced. And that's the thing. I feel like, even though Sekiro came out less than a year ago, I think. Yeah, definitely less than a year ago at this point. I don't know. I love their games, and I feel like in the past few years, they've really got a nice creative streak that, yes, they are releasing games regularly, but each one brings something new. Bloodborne brought something new compared to Dark Souls, even though they're probably the most similar in style, and Sekiro brought something new from Dark Souls 3, and this is obviously going to be a huge departure from that. So I think as long as the quality remains high and there's enough different there's enough different in there, that's fine. We won't get fatigued, at least for me.
I tell you what, JB.
Come on, tell me what.
Oh God, as I die on my own thoughts, I want them to do something that's a little bit easier. I don't want it to be a cakewalk, and somehow it's the Antichrist to say that you don't want to be punished for weeks on end playing something. I love Sekiro, I finished it, but oh my God, Ishin the Sword Saint almost took me with him trying to get through that boss battle.
You doing that, messaging me about that.
But then obviously getting past him was the most elated I've ever felt in my life. It was literally like beating some sort of disease or something. But I don't need that again. I just don't need it. Having played every single one of the games in this entire genre, I don't need to be battered senseless again. And if they're going bigger, make it more accessible.
That's a very valid sort of thing to want, I think, especially if you're going down an open world RPG route. I think that all automatically has connotations with something more accessible. At the same time, I do like getting my head kicked in by these games.
I do
over
too.
And over again.
I went to the trophy data, and the last I checked, it was about 25% of people even finished Sekiro.
Right.
So I don't know that's on PS4, but like at the same time, like we like a good hard game and all that, and I do love that. The whole game test your game of metal and all that. But on a long enough timeline, it's exhausting, and I just want to have a nice time.
For me, it depends how the combat mechanics work, honestly. If they're going to just do the same thing that they've done before with Dark Souls and Bloodborne, I don't necessarily need another one of those experiences in a new IP, because I've got those already banked. Like, if they're going to have a new gimmick like Sekiro did with the deflection and stuff, then I would appreciate the challenge, because it's something new to learn. If it's just more of the same challenge, I kind of agree that I would just like them to do something a bit more accessible or different. But if they've got a new killer USP in there somewhere, then I'm more than up for it.
I don't know what the hell they can hit, what they can hang the whole thing on that would be like so unique whilst also bringing across the same game engine.
Horse combat.
Horse combat?
Horse combat.
If they can perfect horse combat, horses don't fundamentally move in a way that's fun.
If you jump off them, they do.
But then you don't know horse combat. So I don't know. I mean, what is it? Pursuit Force with horses?
Maybe.
People will get that.
I don't even know what that means.
But it was a PSP game. It was really good. I don't know why I'm doing that. It's a smaller PSP. But you could ride on the horse and then, the cart, and then you could jump off and you could punch people in midair. It was a bit like the Wheelman.
Whoa, was it really?
10 games that let you jump from cars, but not horses. But yeah, I look forward to it. I hope that it's just not as much of a slog as Sekiro was.
Me too. What a good positive note to end on. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you believe that Elden Ring will actually come out in June 2020? And are you looking forward to a new From Software game? Either way, while you're down there, can you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture for more lists news like this every single day.
While you're down there?
While you're down there in the comments, not while you're down there in the video.
Good.
It's my thing. I've just said this for years.
No, you've never said while you're down there.
You spoil it.
Hey, while you're down there, will you?
Can you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more listening news like this every single day. Even if you don't know, I've been Josh, he's been Scott. We'll see you soon. Goodbye. What a fast exit.